Tony Stark was sipping his morning coffee in his luxurious Manhattan office when Jarvis's voice suddenly echoed in his ears. "Sir, SHIELD is reporting an emergency." Stark put down his cup and turned to the holographic display. Nick Fury's serious face appeared on the screen. "Stark, I want you on the Triskelion immediately. We've received an off-world transmission," Fury said succinctly. Tony couldn't hide his surprise. "Extraterrestrial? What does that mean, Fury?" Fury added after a few seconds of silence. "We've received an invitation from a galactic council, and you need to be there." Stark prepared to don the Iron Man armor. Soon he was in his armor, flying through the sky, speeding toward the Triskelion. When he entered the central meeting room, Fury was flanked by Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel, Thor, and a group of other heroes. Fury turned to Tony and explained the situation. Several alien races, including the Kree Empire, the Shi'ar Empire, and the Skrull Empire, are requesting an emergency meeting due to a galactic crisis. They want a representative from us. We thought you would be the best person for the task. Tony listened in amazement. "Me? Why me?" Fury replied with a slight smile on his face. "They know you, Stark. Your technology and intelligence could be essential to galactic diplomacy." Tony, after some thought, agreed. He wanted to seize this opportunity for Earth's defense. A week later, Stark and the other heroes were picked up by an alien ship and taken across the galaxy. The ship docked at a huge space station. Tony opened his eyes wide. This station was equipped with technology he had never seen before. Once inside, they were greeted by alien representatives from across the galaxy. Tony felt a little out of place, but this excited him. When they entered the meeting room, Tony was in for a surprise. The Kree representative, Ronan's brother Yarvek, Shi'ar Queen Lilandra, and Skrull Emperor Clorti. They were all gathered around a table and staring at Stark. Yarvek interjected, "Tony Stark, it is an honor to have you here. We need you to keep the galactic peace." Stark responded with a slightly nervous smile. "I hope it will be a peaceful mission." The meeting began with many alien races coming together. Everyone was at the table to negotiate a galactic treaty. But Tony had many questions. Why had they chosen him? What was behind this galactic crisis? Tony was determined to find answers. When the first meeting was over, Stark and his team were taken to their quarters. Alone in his room, Tony tried to process what had happened. However, a message arrived. "Tony Stark, this deal is just the beginning. The real enemy is inside." As he tried to figure out who the message was from, Stark realized they were in on a conspiracy. Before Tony Stark could get over the shock of the message, he tried to find more information on the monitor in his room. He was unsettled by this message of unknown origin. Just then, there was a knock on the door of his room. When he opened the door, there stood Carol Danvers. "Tony, what happened? Your face is pale," Danvers said curiously. Tony showed her the message. Carol frowned and said, "This is not a good sign." Before we continue with our video, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and support us. Thanks. Back in the meeting room, Tony and Carol, together with the other heroes, decided to gather new information. As a first step, they decided to visit the space station's command center. There, they examined the station's security systems. However, what caught Tony's attention was a secret communication signal coming from outside the station. This signal was being sent to someone inside the station. Tony decided to follow this signal. When he reached the source of the signal, he stopped in front of the door of a small room. When he opened the door, he saw a table full of technological devices and a mysterious figure. This figure was a Skrull spy. Tony questioned him immediately and was horrified by the information he learned. The Skrull spy explained to Tony that the Galactic Pact was actually a trap and that an alien power was trying to use it to take control of the galaxy. The spy tried to flee the room before telling Stark who the real enemy was. However, Tony and Carol managed to catch him. The spy confessed that he had led them into a trap and planted explosives on the station. Tony immediately reported the situation to the other heroes. They had to come up with a plan to secure the station and neutralize the explosives. Meanwhile, the galactic meeting was going on, and Tony still had many questions. Did the other alien representatives know about this conspiracy? Or were they victims of the same trap? Before Tony could answer these questions, he had to secure the station. Tony and the other heroes scattered to different parts of the station and began searching for explosives. While everyone was working in their own areas, Tony's mind was still trying to decipher who was behind the message and what the Skrull spy had said. Meanwhile, a warning came from the command center. There was an unknown energy source detected on the station. Tony set out to investigate this energy source. When he reached the energy source, he found a gigantic machine. This machine was capable of opening an intergalactic gateway, and Stark realized its power. This machine could be the beginning of a galactic invasion. Tony tried to neutralize the machine to take control of the situation. However, there was a powerful energy shield protecting the machine. Before Tony could find a way through the shield, he realized that a greater danger was brewing on the station. Was the galactic meeting really a trap? Or was it part of a larger plan? Stark had to find the answers to all these questions. As Tony Stark stood in front of the galactic gateway machine, he was aware of its extraordinary power. If activated, it had the power to open doors to various corners of the universe and bring dangerous beings to Earth. Assessing the situation, Tony called out to the other heroes, "We must stop this machine, otherwise it could be catastrophic." While Tony was looking for ways to shut down the machine, Carol Danvers was trying to reach the security control panel and neutralize the explosives in the station. Meanwhile, in another corner of the station, tensions between Kree and Shi'ar representatives began to escalate. Not trusting each other, the representatives felt threatened, and this threatened the purpose of the meeting. Just then, the station's sound system activated, and an announcement was made for all members of the galactic meeting. "This is Yarvek, leader of the space station. In the name of the Kree Empire, we are terminating this meeting and taking over the station." This announcement shocked Tony and his crew. What was Yarvek's purpose? Tony moved quickly to secure the station. Together with Carol Danvers, he headed for the control center of the galactic gateway machine. However, the surprise that awaited them there was the fact that Yarvek was actually a Skrull agent. Yarvek was planning to launch a galactic invasion by activating the machine. Meanwhile, Yarvek, a Skrull spy, showed his true colors and tried to attack Tony. Tony narrowly escaped Yarvek's attack and fought him relentlessly. Meanwhile, Carol Danvers managed to defuse the explosives and secure the station. However, they needed more time to stop the machine from working. Tony used all his abilities to defeat Yarvek. However, Yarvek's Skrull abilities made him quite powerful. Meanwhile, the other heroes were working quickly to intercept the galactic gateway machine. After Stark neutralized Yarvek, he headed for the machine's control panel and made a final attempt to stop it. However, at that very moment, the machine suddenly activated and the galactic gate began to open. Tony called out to Carol, "We have to stop the machine, otherwise it could all be over." Carol tried with all her might to shut it down, while Tony simultaneously activated the security systems. However, the power of the machine was too great, and the gate kept opening. Finally, with great effort, Tony and Carol managed to shut it down. As the gate closed, everyone took a deep breath. However, Tony still had many questions. How deep was this conspiracy? What were they supposed to do to restore galactic peace? And most importantly, who was the real enemy behind it all? Following the shutdown of the galactic gateway machine, control of the station has been restored. Tony Stark and Carol Danvers breathed a sigh of relief after the hard-fought battle that revealed Yarvek's true colors. However, after this victory, there was still much to do to ensure the safety of the galactic gathering and the continuation of the treaty. When Tony learned of Yarvek's true purpose as a Skrull spy, he realized that he needed to speak to the other representatives present to clarify the situation. They quickly made their way to the meeting room and found that the other representatives were in great confusion. There was now a crisis between the Kree, Shi'ar, and Skrull representatives. Tony and Carol tried to calm them down by talking to the representatives. Tony explained Yarvek's actions and the intended use of the galactic gateway. The representatives believed what Tony said and decided to restart the meeting. However, this resumption process showed how difficult it was to achieve galactic agreement. Later in the meeting, Tony and Carol met with the representatives to work out a new agreement on security measures and galactic cooperation. Tony made every effort to keep the peace and exposed Yarvek's plans at the beginning of the meeting. Under Tony's leadership, the representatives came together to build trust and forge a new agreement between the various villages of the galaxy. However, this peace process came at a great cost for Tony. The new treaty required Tony and the other heroes to make a great sacrifice. To ensure the safety of Earth, they had to offer some of their technology and resources for galactic peace. Tony decided he was ready for this sacrifice, but he knew how difficult this decision would be. In the final stage of the deal, Tony and Carol, together with galactic representatives, signed a new peace treaty. It stipulated that galactic peace would be maintained and that each race would cooperate to protect its borders. Tony realized the importance of this new era of peace, thinking about how this treaty would affect the entire galaxy and protect Earth. Following the meeting, Tony and the other heroes returned to various parts of the galaxy. As Tony returned to ensure the safety of the world, he wondered what impact his relationships with the galactic representatives would have in the future. The price of peace had been high, but Tony's leadership and sacrifice had gone a long way towards securing the galaxy. As Tony returned to Earth, he reflected on the future implications of the steps he had taken for galactic peace. In this struggle, an important turning point had been reached, not only for him, but for the entire galaxy.